With the first round of the draft being wrapped up last night, I want to give some quick grades to each of the picks made in the first round. So let's get right into it. Starting off with the Tennessee Titans with Cam Ward. I'm going to give this a B+. Look, the Titans needed a quarterback, and he was the best quarterback in the draft, so I'm not going to fault them for going after Cam Ward. It's just, I'm just not all that high on Cam Ward. Yeah, he has good arm talent, he has good mobility, but man, it's just hard to say he's like anything special. That's what you want from a first overall pick. You want someone special. I just don't see that from Cam Ward, personally. He can be good, and who knows, he may have like a great career with the Titans, but the situation he's going into is very difficult. Titans don't have a whole lot, and I don't really like any of the moves they've made so far, so I don't think Cam Ward is set up for success in his first year. We'll see in years after if this pick works out, but quarterback's the most important position, so I'm not going to fault the Titans for going after quarterback. They made their best move there, but man, it's just not an all-exciting player there. Next, we're going off with the fireworks in the Jacksonville Jaguars, getting Travis Hunter. I'm going to give this an A. Yes, the Jaguars gave up a lot. Their second round pick and next year's first is a lot for a non-quarterback. But man, this is the player to give up that kind of haul to. How do you have this unicorn of a prospect and not want to go up and go get him? The best wide receiver and the best corner. And that helps the Jaguars in 2 spots. And they plan on playing him in both. We'll see how it ends up working out. But look, draft compensation aside, he's the best player in the draft. Anyone who got him is going to be extremely happy with him. I'm just surprised the Browns moved off of him, really. I think he's going to be a fantastic player for the Jaguars. If you think this guy is going to be an all-pro level player, no price is too much for him. Next, we got the New York Giants with Abdul Carter. I'm also giving them an A. This is another blue chip prospect. Probably not their biggest need, but hey, it doesn't hurt to help their defensive line. You can never have enough good defensive linemen. And look, Abdul Carter is a special edge player. I think he's going to be fantastic for the Giants. And by the looks of things, they're going to keep Thibodeau as well. So it's going to be an interesting rotation with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Abdul Carter. I'm interested to see how they do it. But that defensive line honestly looks kind of scary. And we're going to talk about what they did later in the first round as well. But hey, starting off the draft hot for the Giants. Next, the New England Patriots with Will Campbell. I'm going to give this a B+ as well. The talent fall off from the top 3 players is pretty significant. And in most drafts, Will Campbell probably doesn't go this high. He probably goes like later in the top 10, maybe outside of the top 10. And his short arms make it difficult to see that he will stick at tackle. I think he will be a guard, but look, taking a guard in the first round is a pretty safe move. I think he's going to work out. Probably not the most exciting pick for the Patriots, but you need to build in the trenches. That is the most important spot in football other than quarterback. It's quarterback and the trenches. And the Patriots need a lot of help in the trenches, so Will Campbell is a good start for them. Next, we got the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to give them a B. Not because of the player. I actually quite like Mason Graham, and I think in most normal circumstances, I would probably give this an A because, look, they got a first round and a second round pick as well as Mason Graham. That seems like a pretty good deal. But the reason I'm giving it a B is because they had a chance at Travis Hunter. I think Travis Hunter is far better than Mason Graham and will play a far bigger impact than Mason Graham will ever. But look, Travis Hunter is not going to fix the Browns. The Browns have a lot of holes, and they honestly do need the picks. So I don't fault them for their strategy, but man, when you pass up on a generational talent, and yes, that word is passed around a lot, but Travis Hunter is a legitimate unicorn of a prospect. We have not seen a prospect like Travis Hunter ever, and the Browns just pass on him. That's difficult to swallow, in my opinion. That's very difficult. But they got some picks. They got Mason Graham. We'll see if this works out for them. Now we have the Las Vegas Raiders with Ashton Jeanty. I'm going to give this an A-. I'm only knocking it because of positional value, but it's still a great pick, and I think it's the best possible pick for them in this scenario. After all that drama over the last week, with the Jaguars possibly taking Ashton Jeanty, maybe a team trading up to get Ashton Jeanty, none of that happens and the Raiders get Ashton Jeanty anyway. I'm sure they're thrilled with that because their running back room is garbage. And Ashton Jeanty, I mean, just watch his film. He is a fun player to watch. His contact balance is something else. And with how Saquon was with the Eagles, everyone saw how big of an impact a running back can make. So, Ashton Jeanty is one of the best running backs to come out of college in a while. So I think he is deserving of a pick this high. Just positional value makes it a little difficult to justify, but it's a perfect fit with the Raiders because they got Brock Bowers, Ashton Jeanty. Hey, Geno Smith can carry them for a few years, and it's going to be an exciting offense for the Raiders. I like that pick for them. Next, we have the New York Jets with Armand Membu. I'm also going to give this a B+. I like the pick. I like the player. I don't love it, but I think this is a very good fit for them because they have a hole at right tackle, and he just slots right in. We'll see if he sticks at tackle because he is pretty small for a tackle, and his arms aren't all that long. So I wouldn't be surprised, maybe not immediately, but later in his career, he does move inside. Inside might be a better fit for him, but I think he should slot in at right tackle just fine because he has the athleticism. He has the technical skills to stick at tackle. We'll just see how his size impacts his play, though. Now we have the Carolina Panthers with Teteroa McMillan. I'm going to give them a B. I don't love this pick for them. They did address defense in free agency, and they do have a need at wide receiver, and Teteroa McMillan is sometimes considered the number 2 wide receiver after Travis Hunter. But, they're looking for a Mike Evans. I'm just not sure he is the Mike Evans they're looking for. Separation is a problem with McMillan. And yes, he's a big body. He can get those jump balls. But, it's kind of tough when they have a somewhat similar receiver in Xavier Legette. A sort of jump ball receiver and just not a lot of separation. I think they would have done better if they went defense here because I think there was better defensive value in this spot than McMillan. It's not the worst pick, but I don't think it's the best pick for them. Helping Bryce Young, yes, good for that. I'm just not really all that big on Teteroa McMillan. Let's pretend this was last year's draft. McMillan does not go ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. He does not. And yes, last year's class was kind of an anomaly with wide receivers. In fact, I don't know if McMillan even goes in the first round in last year's class. That's all I'm saying. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints with Kelvin Banks Jr. I'm going to give this a B-. I feel like Kelvin Banks is being a little bit overvalued here, and I'm not sure this is the best fit for Kelvin Banks, but the Saints do need help on offensive line, and Banks is an excellent pass blocker. Needs to work on his run blocking, but pass blocking, I have no concerns about him, and I think he can stick at tackle. It's just, I think there was better options at this spot. So I'm not in love with the pick, but I don't hate it. Next is the Chicago Bears and Colston Loveland. I'm going to give this a B. I think this is solid. Probably not my favorite selection here because I just like Tyler Warren more. But Colston Loveland is a pretty good fit with the Bears. They don't really need the inline tight end that Tyler Warren is. The receiving threat that Colston Loveland may fit better with what Ben Johnson wants to do. And Colston Loveland is an excellent receiving threat. He's honestly just an oversized receiver. That's how I describe him. My immediate comparison was Evan Ingram. That's the kind of tight end I think Colston Loveland will be. And there is value in that. Just not my favorite selection here. Had me very surprised when it happened, but I slept on it. I thought about it. I'm liking it a little bit more than I did initially, but I still don't love it. Now we have the San Francisco 49ers with Mykel Williams. I'm also going to give this a B. Look, the 49ers needed to address defense because they lost so much on defense in free agency. And Mykel Williams is a pretty good prospect. He's still a little bit raw, but there's something there. He has the size, he has some technical ability, and it's clear that he can grow even further. I think he could be a very good player, just needs a little bit more development. And I honestly like the fit with the 49ers. I thought Michael Williams was a good fit for them. And I think he will do well in Robert Saleh's scheme. We'll see how he develops, but I think this could be a good player for the 49ers. We'll see if he can be great, but I think he will at least be good. Now we have the Dallas Cowboys and Tyler Booker. I'm going to give this a C+. This is less about the player and more of the process. I don't like this pick. It's very unexciting, which is not the issue. It's just we're reaching on a need. We're not letting the board fall to you. We're reaching on a need because an offensive lineman you probably liked didn't fall to you. Tyler Booker is a good guard. His athletic profile probably won't allow him to be a great guard, so I don't think he's going to be a very good replacement for Zach Martin. I think he will be good. He has a pretty high floor, in my opinion, and will be probably a decent guard in the league. Do you really want that at the 12th pick, though? That's my concern about it. The value isn't there. Let's be real. Picking a guard this high, they better be like Hall of Fame worthy, or they have to have like a freakish athletic profile. Tyler Booker is not that, and I feel like he was more of a late first round, early day 2 type of player. So I think this is the biggest reach by far for a need, and drafting for need often doesn't end up going that great for teams. Speaking of reaching, the Miami Dolphins with Kenneth Grant. This was also a reach in my opinion, but less so than Tyler Booker. I actually like Kenneth Grant, and I also think he's a first-round player. I think he could have gone like a bit later, maybe in like the late teens, maybe early 20s. I think that was his range. 13 is a bit early for him, especially for a guy who doesn't really have much pass rush upside. He's more of a run defender, and there's definitely value in that. I mean, he's a big athletic nose tackle who could maybe do something in the pass game, but he's more of a run stopper than anything. And I think that's less valuable than some of the other defensive tackles like Walter Nolan or even Derek Harmon. But I think their ideal fit in Kelvin Banks went ahead of them. They had plenty of options on defense. I actually think safety would have been a better pick here. Either Malachi Starks or Nick Immanwori. Heck, maybe even one of the corners would have been a better fit. Defensive tackle, I'm just not in love with this pick. So I'm going to give this a B-. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts with Tyler Warren. Off the bat, I'm giving this an A+. He is my favorite tight end this draft. He is so versatile. He's played literally every offensive position on the field. He's played center, quarterback, running back, fullback, tight end, all the wide receiver slots. He does it all. He is Taysom Hill premium. If he wanted to, I wouldn't be surprised if he even tried to win the QB battle the Colts are going to have. He is that kind of versatile player. And whoever wins that quarterback battle, they're going to love Tyler Warren. He's going to be their favorite target. He can be used all over the field. He's honestly a chess piece on offense. And I like that for the Colts. Now, if they could ever get their QB situation figured out, then we'll see the full utilization of Tyler Warren. Now we have the Atlanta Falcons and Jalen Walker. I'm going to also give this an A. This is about the range I think Jalen Walker should have gone. In my opinion, he was being overhyped, going top 10. I didn't like that value, but here I like his value better. He's an off-the-ball linebacker that can sometimes play at edge. He isn't really great at either position, but the fact that he's pretty good at both makes him pretty valuable. And if he's used in the right scheme, I think he could be a great player, but he's very scheme dependent. But the Falcons needed help on defense, and Jalen Walker can do that for them. We'll see how they use him, and if he can really be that difference maker that some people have touted him as. Next, we have Walter Nolan with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to give this an A-. In my personal opinion, he's D-tackle 2 for me. He could easily be the best defensive tackle in this class. No doubt about it. He has that type of ceiling. Though his floor is a little bit lower than some of the other defensive tackles. We'll see how he can develop as a pass rusher and if he can really be that special. Because if he can develop, I think he could be that Jalen Carter type tiered defensive tackle. He can be special. And look, Jonathan Gannon wanted his Jalen Carter with the Arizona Cardinals. And Walter Nolan is that guy for him. He is so disruptive in the backfield. And he just has that explosive power that you want from a defensive tackle like Walter Nolan. Next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals and Shamar Stewart. I'm going to give this a C. He had a great combine, but athletic testing is one thing. We aren't playing the underwear Olympics in the NFL. He needs to have that production. And when I watched film on him, I had a hard time seeing it. Sure, sometimes he flashed that athletic ability, but too often he was doing nothing. I was far more impressed by his teammates than Shamar Stewart. Sure, if you can make it work, he could be a good player. But your hope is he turns into like a Daniil Hunter, who had similar production coming out of college. But there's plenty of bust cases where this hasn't worked out, and I just have my reservations if the Bengals can really make Shamar Stewart work. I would have rather them draft a whole host of other different players in this position. Next, we have the Seattle Seahawks with Gray Zabel. I think this is a great pick for them. I'm giving this an A. I was railing on guard earlier, but this is a different type. He can play every position on the offensive lineman, and that is super valuable. He can play center, he can play guard, he can play tackle. I mean, he played tackle at college, but he's not going to stick at it because of his size. And I think if he were to play at tackle, it would be because he was playing at a backup position. I think he could be a fantastic guard or even center. And the Seahawks need that. Their interior offensive line was awful. They needed to address that position, and if they didn't go for it in the first round, I think that would have been a failure. Gray Zabel is a great pick for them. I think it's a great fit for them as well. You can move them all over the line as needed, and I think they should continue to address the interior of the offensive line throughout the draft. Now we have a surprise pick with Emeka Egbuka to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was expected to be a defensive player, not wide receiver. The Buccaneers already have 3 good wide receivers in Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan. The fact they picked Egbuka shows they have concerns about Godwin coming off of his injury. And Mike Evans is getting old, so I get trying to get ahead of that. But did you really need to spend a first-round pick on a wide receiver? I don't really think so. I like the player. I think the player is great, and he's my personal favorite wide receiver in the first round. I have no issues with the player. In fact, most normal circumstances, I probably give this an A. But because of the awkward fit, I'm going to give this a B-. I'm not giving this a C because I like the player, but it really should have been defense here. I think Jahad Campbell would have been a good pick. Jahdae Barron would have been a good pick here. There were just better players available for the Buccaneers. Next, we have the Denver Broncos and Jahdae Barron. I'm going to give this an A-. I was just talking about how fits matter, and this is also a kind of awkward fit. But look, when you have Patrick Surtain and Jahdae Barron in your secondary, their secondary is stacked, and they already addressed safety and free agency. They want to bring back the no-fly zone to Denver. This is an exciting pick for me. I thought they would have gone offense here with Amarian Hampton, but look, Jahdae Barron, I can't be mad at this pick. He's my personal favorite corner as well. I'm only docking a few points because of the weird fit, but this is probably one of the best cornerback duos in the league. That's super exciting for Denver to have. And you support Bo Nix by having a fantastic defense. Just look at the 2017 Jaguars. The Blake Bortles took them to the AFC Championship game because they had a fantastic defense. Broncos could do that too by supporting Bo Nix and having a fantastic defense. Hey, the Eagles had a great defense as well. That's how they shut down the Chiefs. And yeah, they also had Saquon to take them over the top. But you could find some good running backs in this draft, so the Broncos have plenty of time to pick a running back. Now we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and Derek Harmon. I'm going to give this a B. I think this was a better decision than going for a quarterback. I don't really like any of the quarterbacks in this draft. And yes, they are taking a gamble. Perhaps they are gambling on getting Aaron Rodgers. And maybe they're even looking for a different quarterback. Maybe like a Jalen Milroe, maybe a Tyler Shaw. Heck, maybe they even get Shedeur Sanders anyway. I think it was better that they don't waste a first-round pick on a quarterback. Derek Harmon is a good fit for them. He's similar to Cameron Hayward, and Cameron Hayward is getting old, so he'd be a good young replacement for him. And I think he will be a good defensive tackle in the league. Probably not great, maybe not at the level of Cameron Hayward, but I think it will be a very good starter for the Steelers. to pair alongside TJ Watt. Next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers and Amarian Hampton. I'm going to give this a B+. I'm personally not as high on Amarian Hampton as some others are, but look, it's a good fit with the Chargers. Very good fit. Jim Harbaugh wants his power rusher. That's what he got in Najee Harris, and there's Amarian Hampton too, with that power. And he's got a little bit of speed too, so don't sleep on his speed either. I just have my concerns about his vision and his lack of creativity in the run game. I think he will be a good starter, not necessarily a great one in my opinion. I just think he will be a good running back, and he will slot behind that offensive line in Los Angeles just fine. And now the Green Bay Packers finally picked a wide receiver in the first round, Matthew Golden. And I'm going to give it a B+, because I am not super high on Matthew Golden. My personal opinion, he's fool's gold. But I don't think his floor is that low. So I think he will still be a good wide receiver. Some people are just hyping him out to be like this amazing wide receiver. I don't think there's going to be a wide receiver in this class other than Travis Hunter that will be top tier. I think the rest of the wide receivers are just good players. There's a lot of good players in this draft, not a lot of great ones. And I think that's Matthew Golden as well. I think he's a good player. He will definitely help Jordan Love and improve that wide receiver core. We'll see how far he goes. And look, he has some energy. I'll give him that. He has some great energy. I loved what he did in Green Bay last night. We'll see how it works out with the Packers, though. Next, Donovan Jackson to the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to give this a B-. A little bit of a reach, but he does have some tackle versatility. He did play tackle last year after Josh Simmons went down for Ohio State. He played pretty well at tackle. He's not going to play tackle in the league unless it's a backup role. He's going to play guard. Can't have too many good offensive linemen. And I did say in the free agency video that the Vikings still could address guard in the draft. My opinion, a little early to address guard, but I still think they got a good player as well. I think he'll be a good starter for them. Now we have the New York Giants again trading up with the Texans. They didn't give up too much. With how teams were trading last night, Texans honestly got underpaid there, and I don't think they used their leverage all that great. And the Giants took Jackson Dart, which had me dying laughing because I don't think this guy will be any good. Just watch this guy throw. He has no accuracy. Giants fans might be hyped right now, but I'm giving this a D. I don't like this pick. I think he's being overvalued for his athletic ability and strong arm. As a quarterback, he's not good. We'll see if he can improve that and be Josh Allen light. That's what Brian Daboll wants. We'll see if it works out for him, but man, I don't like this pick. I just don't. Next, we have the Atlanta Falcons trading up with the Rams to get James Pierce. Oof, that trade. Giving up next year's first is a tough one. And I think that's a massive overpay. That's why I'm going to give this a B-. Not because of the player, more of the trade. It's one thing to go after an absolute star player and give up a first for it. That's what I liked from Jacksonville. The Falcons doing that, pretty bad value there. And the Rams, I'm going to give them an A just for their trade because they got a free first rounder. But James Pierce as a player, I think is very good. As a normal pick, I would have given this like an A because I think he's a steal down here. But that trade value is really killing it for me, in my personal opinion. If they gave up like next year's second, I wouldn't bat an eye. Like just drop it around, I wouldn't bat an eye. I'd probably give this like an A-. But a first round pick, I don't really like that. Not this late in the draft. Next, the Baltimore Ravens and Malachi Starks, A+. He's the best free safety in this draft. Yes, his athletic profiling isn't all that good, but he has the mentals to play safety. He's smart, he's super tough, and the moment I saw this pick, I'm like, this is exactly a Ravens pick. They got some stacked safeties. Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, ooh, that's a nice safety pair. The Ravens need to improve their defense, and they just let the board fall to them. I thought James Pierce would have been a good fit for the Ravens. Gets picked right in front of him. So Malachi Starks is also a pretty good fit for the Ravens as well. Next, we have Tyleik Williams to the Detroit Lions. I'm going to give this a B-. This was also a reach for a run-stopping defensive tackle. just not really exciting, and the Lions do make some weird picks. I will say that. They make some weird picks, but it always seems to work out. Maybe this works out, but I think they are getting a little too much ahead of themselves. I think they are overvaluing Tyreek Williams. This is a guy who had no first-round buzz. Probably would be able to get him in the second as well. There's also some other good run-stuffing defensive tackles in the second. I just don't think this was the best value. They could have gone somewhere else with this pick, in my opinion. Next is Josh Connerly Jr. to the Washington Commanders. I'm going to give it a B+. Not the best offensive lineman available, but I could get wanting to still build on your offensive line because you want to help Jaden Daniels out. You want to give him as much time as possible. Connerly is a little bit raw, but he does have that physical ability. If you can just develop him a little bit more, he could be a solid offensive tackle. Not the best possible pick here, but still a pretty good pick for the Commanders, who I think have had a very good offseason so far. Next is Maxwell Hairston to the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to give this a B-. Not the best corner on the board. There were better options. There's Will Johnson, who somehow didn't get selected in the first round. I like Trey Amos better than Hairston. Hairston has that speed. I mean, he's a great character too. I mean, you saw him dapping up literally everyone last night. Great guy. Little bit raw though. If you can develop him, he could probably be a good starter. But I just not super high on Hairston. Yeah, he had that nice 40 time, but he's not great in coverage and just has some concerning tendencies like playing way too far off the ball. There's some stuff to work on with Hairston, and I think the Bills could have just made a better pick here. Now we have the Philadelphia Eagles trading with the Kansas City Chiefs for Jahad Campbell. A+. Of course the league lets a defensive player like this fall to them. Apparently there were some injury concerns, and that's what allowed Jahad Campbell to be available this late. Of course Howie Roseman gets a player like this. My personal favorite linebacker in this class, and he goes to the Eagles because, yeah, that's what the Eagles do. They love somehow getting excellent defensive players to fall to them. The rich get richer. I think his shoulder's going to be absolutely fine. You know Zach Bond? You know how successful he was? Yeah, that's Jahad Campbell. So now they got two Zach Bonds. Great. They didn't need to reach on anyone. And there's still some good value on day 2. I'm sure the Eagles will find some defensive linemen. Of course. Lastly, the Kansas City Chiefs traded down with the Eagles and got Josh Simmons because of course they would get Josh Simmons. Why wouldn't they? So I'm giving out another A+. This guy has the potential to be the best offensive tackle in this class and is only available this far down because of injury concerns. By the looks of things, he worked out just fine at his pro day. His medicals seemed to check out. I have no idea why he's down this low. I guess teams were scared of his medicals. I don't think they really should have been. And now the Chiefs get a really good left tackle. If not for his injury, Josh Simmons probably goes top 5. He's that good of a player. And he gets to go to one of the best teams in the league. So great for him. So anyways, that is my full first round draft recap. I won't be doing a day 2 draft recap. I'm going to be doing one on Monday, recapping the entire draft and grading how each team did in the entirety of the draft and those draft grades. But I will see you guys next week with that video. Bye.